Now, in some other news we're tracking for you, overseas studies have found that patients in critical care because of the coronavirus could benefit from a blood transfusion of plasma containing antibodies from a person who has recovered from COVID-19. In the US, the Food and Drug Administration has found that if a patient is given the transfusion within 3 days of being admitted to hospital, their chances of survival increase by 35%. UK researchers say they are not sure that transfusions are in fact beneficial. The World Health Organization saying that the treatment is still in the experimentation phase. Now, here in South Africa, the National Blood Service is considering a clinical trial in blood plasma, but as we appear to be moving out of a peak in cases, it looks like time may be running out for such a trial. But let's unpack this now. We're joined by Marion Vermeulen, who is a Senior Manager for Operations and Testing at the SANBS. Marion, good morning. Thanks very much for your time this morning on the AM report. So some promising sort of murmurings coming from the US, and although the UK is still questioning whether it is beneficial. But what are we looking at just in terms of whether this is a form of treatment that we might just explore?
Yes. Good morning, Michelle. We very much want to look at exploring this, and we've started collecting convalescent plasma already from donors. And we've set up protocols for clinical trial in this country. So we agree with the UK, as you were mentioning there, that this has not been proven yet to work. And so the only way you can determine if it really is efficacious is by performing a clinical trial.
Yeah.
So to perform a clinical trial in South Africa, it does require, besides Human Research Ethics Committee approval, it also requires SAPRA approval. So we are awaiting that approval at the moment.
So what we're hearing from the Food and Drug Administration in the US is that it's claiming that this could decrease mortality or the mortality rate by 35%. So when it comes to the research being done by other countries, can we latch onto that kind of research, or do we do our own?
I think you need to do your own, because each population is different, and we're made up, genetically quite different. However, if we get to a point where we don't have sufficient participants in our study, as you mentioned, with the epidemic starting to come towards tapering off again, I do think that there is room to be able to use all the different studies around the world to add the data together to try and come up with an answer as well. We belong, from the South African National Blood Service, myself and a colleague belong to the International Society for Blood Transfusion Working Party on Convalescent Plasma. So we are collaborating with the Netherlands, with Germany, with the UK, with America, many countries. And we've designed our clinical trials along the same lines, with slight differences such as who the patients are that receive the convalescent plasma, and also the dosing. But other than that, the clinical trials are set up very, very similarly.
Yeah. In terms of how antibodies have the potential to work against other viruses, are there lessons that we can learn in relating it to COVID-19?
Well, yes. So the reason why convalescent plasma is a hot topic at the moment, and everyone's investigating to see whether it'll work, is because it did work for other coronaviruses. So it worked for SARS-1, and it worked for MERS successfully through clinical trials. It also worked for the Spanish flu back in the early 1900s. So it's known to work and has worked before. But you still have to check that it will work with every single virus. So we don't know yet that it will work with SARS-CoV-2.
Yeah. But certainly some light there at the end of the tunnel, something to hold on to, some hope?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we wouldn't be doing the trials if we didn't think it would work. I mean, theoretically, it should work. It's a passive immunization of the antibodies that we collect from patients who have recovered from the illness, so they've developed the antibodies already. We collect those in the plasma component, transfuse those to a patient who's currently ill, and we give them a passive immunity. And the hope is that those antibodies will then fight SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, while the patient is still developing their own antibodies.
Yeah. Marion, continue, please.
I was saying hopefully that then gives them a milder illness and that they recover quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Marion, is there an effect on the donor in this case, sort of a negative effect or any effect at all?
No, not at all. We collect exactly the same product routinely at the South African National Blood Service and also at the Western Cape Blood Service. Routinely we collect a product called source plasma. It's exactly the same as convalescent plasma, except for the fact that it doesn't come from a person who's recovered from COVID-19. So I donate it regularly. You can donate every 2 weeks at 600 ml of plasma, and it has no effect on you whatsoever. And we routinely collect this product for various other illnesses.
I suppose now the challenge is to find people who would take part in such a clinical trial, both on the end of the donor and the recipient.
Yes, I mean, from the donor side, it's always difficult. You know, there's not many people in this country who donate blood. Around about 1% of the population donate blood and are able to donate blood. Yeah. So it's really hard to find those donors who give altruistically and want to help others. So that's the difficult side of it, if you like, and trying to recruit donors. And we also don't know who the people are who have recovered. So we need them to come to us and tell us that they have recovered from COVID-19 so we can then enroll them into the clinical trial. From the patient side, we don't know yet because we haven't started. As I said, we're waiting for SAPRA approval. But when we do start, at the moment, we've registered 5 hospitals for the clinical trial. Other hospitals can contact us if they want to be involved, and then that also needs to be approved through SAPRA as well.
So as we wait for that approval, there are these 2 calls then. Other hospitals can get in touch with the SANBS if they want to get involved. And of course, if you have recovered from COVID-19 in South Africa, you can do the same. Just get in touch with the SANBS?
Correct. You can't just go to a donor site like you would normally if you just went to go and donate normal whole blood or source plasma. Because it's a clinical trial, it does have to go through a clinical trial route. So we're asking donors to go onto our website, which is www.sanbs.org.za, and to register as a convalescent plasma donor. Our research nurse will then contact you within a week and find out whether you are eligible to donate the plasma and set up your first appointment to have just specimens taken. And then if all of that is okay, then they will make up your appointment to actually provide the convalescent plasma. And from there on, you can then continue to donate every 2 weeks if you so wish. All
right. Well, thanks very much for coming on, Marion Vermeulen, joining us there from the SANBS. And while we wait for the approvals around this clinical trial, that is the information that we want to leave you with. If you have recovered from COVID-19 and you see yourself taking part in this clinical trial where you donate your plasma and the antibodies then go to the person who is still battling the virus, that's the clinical trial that's yet to come, that's yet to be approved. But just go onto the SANBS website. It is sanbs.org.za. There you register as a convalescent plasma donor, and from then on the SANBS will get in touch with you.